think what I loved about education was recognizing that there are many ways to learn and that school can be fun. Like you can have relationships with your teachers and your students, and you can learn in different ways. You can do real world hands-on learning within the school. And so you don't have to wait till you go to cosmetology school or college to have those learning experiences. And I think that that's what I realized, was that this was the place for me and this is what I could do to make a difference.
Welcome to the Power of Community on the Voice of Montbello Podcast. I'm your host, Estrella, and today I'm here with Amanda Marquez, co-founder of Be the Change Community School. And in this special podcast series, we speak with powerful educators and entrepreneurs who have participated in the Moonshot Fellowship here in Denver, Colorado. Moonshot is an amazing fellowship that empowers educators to imagine education and embrace their creativity to develop, innovate, and transformative experiences with youth. All right. So, Amanda, can you tell us a bit about yourself? Where are you from?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Estrella. I am from a small town in Western Pennsylvania called Butler. And so I grew up there with my mother, father, and one sister. I am a bicultural Latina. And so my mother is white and my father is Latino. And so we grew up in this small, almost rural town outside of Pittsburgh. It was a mostly white town. It was a steel mill town. My dad worked at the steel mill. And so it was just the four of us. I had just one or two cousins who lived in Pennsylvania. I had an aunt who lived in Pennsylvania. And then my father's family all lived out here in Colorado. And so he is one of 9. He's the youngest of 9 brothers and sisters. And so in the summers, we would come out to Colorado to visit our grandparents and our aunties and uncles. And so throughout my life, when traveling and moving to different places, when it came time to figure out where we were moving next, Colorado was on the list because there's so much family here. And I had so many great experiences being with all my cousins and aunties and uncles when we would come out here in the summer. So that's how I ended up in Colorado.
Nice. Do you like being bicultural? Yeah,
it's an interesting question. And I think like my perception of my identity, I think has developed as I've gotten older and shifted along the way. I think that there is a part of me that has always felt like I'm half and half, and I don't fit in this world. I don't fit in that world. And the older I get, the more that I recognize that I am whole and I am wholly both parts of my culture, and they are both beautiful. And what's so beautiful is that they come together. And like the family that I had and the upbringing that I had that was so supportive, has been, I think it's a great asset. I think it has made me being very aware of like inclusion and being inclusive of everybody. I'm the kind of person who, when there's a group of people, I make sure everybody is talking. And if somebody hasn't said anything, like I'll reach out to them. Or if somebody isn't talking to a person, like I'm the person who will go over and like bring them into the conversation, because I think that having those feelings sometimes of not fitting here and not fitting there makes me very aware of wanting everybody to feel included.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, sometimes you just want someone to feel included because you know that feeling. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, and so I read that you went to Harvard. I don't know if I'm wrong, but I know that you went to Harvard.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask, what did you go for? What degrees do you have?
Yes. So Harvard is my last degree. I have my master's in educational leadership from Harvard. And before that, I graduated with a bachelor's of science in business administration, and that was from the University of Pittsburgh. And before that, I graduated from the Pittsburgh Beauty Academy, and I also have a cosmetology license. And so my career path, like most social entrepreneurs, was not linear. I started off doing hair and nails in a salon and wanted to start my own salon someday. So thought getting a business degree would help me in that journey. And so went to the University of Pittsburgh to do that. And then in my final year before I graduated, I was listening to somebody talking in a coffee shop, and I overheard them talking about a program that's called Teach for America. And I had never heard of it before, but it sounded like something I might be interested in doing. And so I was a special education teacher. I was a math teacher, high school math teacher. And then when it came time, I wanted to go into administration. I didn't know if I would ever get in, but took the chance in applying for Harvard and got in, and was very exciting to be able to get in, to get my degree from an institution that, like, I think where I came from growing up, nobody I knew had ever gone there. And so it was only things like that I could dream of.
Yeah, well, that's pretty cool. And honestly, I wish I could go to Harvard like you, but that's another conversation for another day. But what do you think was so different about education than cosmetology and like business and everything else you had a degree in? What was the main thing you saw in education that was like, oh, I want to do this?
I think what it really came down to is I didn't like school growing up. So I was the kid who, like, my mom would have to come into my room and rip the covers off of me and fight with me to get up out of bed to go to school because I did not want to go to school. And I just like saw it as a means to an end. It was something that I had to do in order to get a good job growing up. And so I think it wasn't until like I went to cosmetology school and I got my business degree, the learning that you do in cosmetology school and the learning that you do in business school is very different than what you learn in high school. And so it's all hands-on, it's real world. In business school, we were learning about real companies and their challenges and coming up with solutions. And that was really fun for me, not memorizing facts and writing papers and all of those things that happened in my schooling experience. And so I think what I loved about education was recognizing that there are many ways to learn and that school can be fun. Like, you can have relationships with your teachers and your students, and you can learn in different ways. You can do real world hands-on learning within the school. And so you don't have to wait till you go to cosmetology school or college to have those learning experiences. And I think that that's what I realized, was that this was the place for me and this is what I could do to make a difference.
Yeah. And I also read that you are a first-gen graduate, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I wanted to know, as a female first-generation student, did you ever feel discouraged? Or if you did, what did you do to try to persevere?
That is a great question. So I think, interestingly, throughout my schooling experience, like my high school experience, my parents were very much like, you are going to go to college, you're going to go get a degree, because they didn't have one and they thought it was something important. So I had a lot of encouragement from my family. However, my first year in college, I felt extremely lost. I felt very out of place. I had gone to a different school out of state, was around very different people. Socioeconomically, these are people who had a lot of money, and I just did not feel like I belonged. And I actually dropped out of college after my freshman year. And that's when I went to beauty school and got my cosmetology license. I think what changed and helped me persevere through it was, number one, like, this was something that was very important for my family, that my parents had sacrificed a lot so that I could go to college. And I wanted to do that both for them and for myself. I also knew that, like, in the world, that college degree might help me get a business loan or something as I wanted to open up a salon. I think that what I have recognized is that there are people that it's not going to be the college. It's not, maybe that's going to be the one who pushes you along, but you have to find your people. And so I was fortunate to have my family. I had my sister, I had other friends in my life who were, having a hard time too. And we were able to talk about it. But ultimately, like, keeping your eye on the end goal. What is it that you want? And finding the fun along the way. I also think that it helped that I thought I was going to be a biology major, and then I switched to business, and business was way more fun than biology. So I think finding your passion is also an important part with persevering for schooling.
Yeah, so basically main thing is support and basically having an eye for what you want, set your mind on to what you want.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well summarized.
I really like that. Okay, you're a first-gen college student.
Mm-hmm.
What type of struggles did you face as a first-gen college student?
Yes. So I think there was probably some academic preparedness. I think the school that I went to, I was around people who I felt just understood things in a way that I didn't. And like what I had learned in high school was very, very different. And I didn't have to do much work in high school to be okay. And I had to do a lot of work in college just to kind of get by. And so I think that was something that I really struggled with that I was used to not having to work that hard to do okay. And I had to work so hard to just get by. And that was hard for me. I also think like finding the people that you connect with, I think that's a huge part of it. And so, my freshman year, that was a big struggle for me when I went back to college for business. I found people who were interested in the same things that I was in. I also was working a full-time job. And so I kind of was less worried about fitting in with the people at school because I had those people already outside of school. And was able to like really focus on what it was that I was interested in and getting my schoolwork done and also learning new habits that were going to help me to be successful, because what I was doing before in high school was not making me successful in college. And so I had to learn new skills so that I could be successful.
Yeah, so your main struggle was just adjusting basically to all the work that you had to do. Yeah. And what helped you cope with that? Like you said, well, I'm not sure, but you said you had a job and then like a lot of work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine you must be stressed with like all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What helped you get through all that? Like what helped you cope with your stress?
I think that I'm fortunate that I've always been an active person. I'm not an athletic person, but I like to be active. And so in college, I was taking a weightlifting class and like an exercise class. And honestly, I think that those helped tremendously. I would run, go to the gym, and I definitely think physical activity was something that definitely helped with wellness. And it's something that I continue to this day, is that I like to be physically active because it keeps my mind clear and helps with all of the stress. I also know that I actually thrive under, I need that sort of sense of urgency in order to do my best work. So if I have a long time to get something done, I'll think about it for a really long time and maybe procrastinate, versus when the deadline is coming near or I know I don't have a lot of time, I will get to work and get things done very quickly.
Yeah. So basically you're a person that works fast. Like, yeah, procrastinator, but fast worker. Good to know. And what made you pursue, oh, well, I already asked that, right? Like basically, why did you want to become an educator? Or
yeah, I think I can. I mean, I kind of told you I overheard it in the coffee shop, them talking about it. And I will say that I loved the work that I was doing at the salon, but I don't know I wanted something else. I loved what I was doing, but I wanted to be able to challenge myself to something new. And when I first decided to do it, this is something new and different. But I like the mission of what we're trying to do is for everybody to get a good education and I think having had some bad experiences in education, I wanted to help mitigate that for the next generation. And then it was sort of just falling in love with the students and the families and how we got to work together and see students be successful. Like that's just something that brings joy to my heart. Like on my first day at Harvard, they asked us, what is your purpose in life? And my purpose that I had just like popped into my head was that my purpose in life is to support others in following their dreams, because I have been supported my whole life in following mine. So when I wanted to be a cosmetologist, my parents were there. When I wanted to pursue business, my parents were there. And when I wanted to get into education, my parents were there supporting me in pursuing my dreams. So I just want to be that for other people.
yeah, I love that. Just having that, you being the support that other people may need and you want to be that support.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that. Yeah, because some people just might feel like they don't have the support that they want to have, that they need. And like, yeah. just you being there and them having someone to talk to is like just something really nice. Yeah. And so going on to the conversation about be the change. So what was your motive behind be the change?
It's a great question. I think a few things. I think one, again, it went back to my own schooling experience, not liking it very much. I think the other thing that even as a teacher and a school administrator, that I found is that I recognize that schools aren't serving all kids, and different kids need different things. And so really the inspiration from Be the Change came from my own schooling experience, where I didn't get to learn about people who look like me or came from my cultural background. And, like our familial history had been erased and our language was slowly going away. And the things that like my Latino side of the family brought were sometimes an education seen as a thing to overcome and not an asset that we bring. And I think that that's really what Be the Change is about, is it's grounded in identity and who you are. And it sees your identity as an asset and a gift that you bring. So Be the Change is like, we're making sure that all of our students graduate biliterate. So our kids come with the gift of language. And so ensuring that they graduate literate in that language, as well as having like the literacy in English, having that connection to culture that often just doesn't happen at school. We don't talk about it. I even think within the Latino community, like the connection to our indigeneity isn't even always there. And so I think that's another big part of what Be the Change wants to do, is to have our kids explore who our ancestors were and the accomplishments that they made. And sometimes in school, we always see the negative and the trauma with everybody who's not white. And there's so much amazing things. There's so many amazing accomplishments that our ancestors made, and our ancestors did, that we often don't get to talk about or learn about until we're much older. And at Be the Change, we're like, no, our kids are going to know who they are and where they came from. As well as sort of having a different learning experience where learning can be fun and you can feel like you're empowered to go out and change the world.
Yeah, I really like your motive behind that, because going back to like cultural and like all of that, it frustrated me for a long time that like I didn't get to know much about my culture, like my background, my ancestors, anything until my sophomore year of high school, which is like, why didn't I know any of this growing up, going to school, you know? And I just really love that you guys do that for your students, because growing up, I wish I knew like more about like my Latino culture and like also like my American culture. Like, since I'm Chicana, I wish I would have known more like growing up.
Yes.
Rather than like having to find out like myself. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And what do you think makes Be the Change unique?
I think what makes us unique is one, that we were co-designed with our community. So our school is opening up in Commerce City, the Adams 14 school district. I live there. My co-founder lived there and her kids all went to school there. We had a community design team of educators, students, and community members from the Adams 14 community, who helped to guide us and shape the direction of the school. And our school has evolved over time because of the people who have come to the table and the ideas that we've had. And I think that that's very unique when you have a school that's designed by the community that it's going to serve. I also think that like there are other schools out there that have project-based learning or maybe are focused on language, but I think it's like our culture and commitment to identity, and ensuring that our students deeply know who they are, where they came from, their ancestors, and are proud of that. And so I think that that's another big part of our culture that is very unique.
Yeah. I think, identity has to be one of the biggest things that makes your school unique, because most schools just focus on like one thing, just education, like straight education. And they don't even focus on like finding people's like identity, what they want to do, how they want to do it.
It's just learn to read, write this essay. And versus like in our school, it's like, how do you connect to what we are learning? Like, who are you? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Where did your ancestors come from? How does this connect to you or not connect to you? And really thinking about that throughout the learning.
Right. Yeah. And how do you build a positive school culture? And what would you implement at Be the Change to continue success?
So I think our school culture is like kind of goes back to that. It's founded on identity. We believe that when people know who they are, and like deeply like know what their strengths are and can have that positive belief in themselves, that's when we can start building a community. So when I like see the humanity in myself and can honor the humanity in myself, I can see the humanity and honor the humanity in you. And that's when we come together and have that community. And in order to have that learning environment, like a community creates that safe learning environment, because when you're worried about what people are thinking about you, or if people are going to put you down, if you don't have that emotional, psychological safety, learning can be a challenge. And so that's why we're just grounded in that identity work and helping young people see who they are and the gifts that they bring so that we can create that community. We also think that confidence is a really big part of it. We want our kids to have pride in themselves. And so when you know who you are and what you're good at, and you can see the assets that you bring, you can have confidence to go out and change the world. And I think the last part of our culture is we call it civic engagement. And really it's how you contribute to your community. And so to build that strong school culture, young people have to like have that pride in themselves and also that willingness to give, because they have such abundance in themselves that they are able to give to others. And that's what we see making our community great in Commerce City.
Yeah, I think community is one of the main and biggest things to focus on. Yeah, because I think, I don't really know how to word this, but like, yeah, like when you're out like with other people and like you have that confidence, like going back, like they're going to give you the confidence to like open up and like express yourself more, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I really like that. Yeah. And that's going to continue leading to success if you're like comfortable with the people around.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when our kids feel like pride in themselves and confident and connected, I think like that sense of belonging within community is so important. That yes, like kids are successful in so many ways. Like it helps with academic performance. It helps you find like the thing that you're passionate about so that you can go out and impact your community in that way. So if you're an artist making murals, if you're a scientist finding the next cure, whatever it is, we want our kids to go out and change the world with whatever it is they're passionate about.
Yeah, all together too. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. I really, really like that. And how does Be the Change support your goals?
My personal goals, or what goals?
Like, do you have any goals for the school, like, or like for the community, even like for the future? Like,
yes, I think our like Be the Change, a long-term goal is like, we want to be a positive impact on our community. We come from such a vibrant, a vibrant place, and we want to be a positive impact on our community by making sure that our kids have economic opportunities and can be flourishing when they graduate from high school or their post-secondary learning. I think that that's really what we are seeing, is that the kids in our community, success, sometimes people think, oh, success is being able to get out or leave your community. And we believe that success is being able to learn and bring back what you have learned to positively impact your community. And I think that that's what we see as our long-term goal and our long-term success, is just like to continue seeing Commerce City growing and thriving economically, and that all people in our like very diverse cultures are coming together in just a beautiful way to have a positive future.
Yeah, having a positive impact, and just maybe not even the future, but the whole world, maybe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the goal, right?
Yes. I mean, yes, like there's the ripples. It's like our local community, the state, the country, the world. And that's the thing, is that yes, some of our kids are going to go off and they're going to move to other countries. They're going to move to other states, and the impact that they're going to have on the world is going to be amazing.
Yeah, they're going to influence the world to do better things. Yes. Yeah, be the change, of course. Yes. Yeah. I know it. And how should schools empower students to transform their future and further their education?
That's our vision, is that's what we want so much for our kids, is to transform the future. And so I think for us is like, it's really about that. We call it revolutionary confidence. And we've talked about confidence a little bit before, but revolutionary means to cause great change. And we want our young people to have the kind of confidence and pride in themselves, and the support of a community, that they know that they can go out and cause great change. And so I think that that's how we transform the future, is that young people have such belief in themselves and know that they have a support network and they're part of a support network from somebody else, that they go, and whatever path it is that they choose, that they can go out and make that change. And so their future will change. The general future will change for our country, for the world, just by making sure that our kids have like social emotional skills, the academic skills, the identity in the community to go out and make that change in the world.
Yeah, to make the world a better place.
Absolutely.
Of course. And let's talk more about the Moonshot Fellowship.
Okay.
All right. So what was the most important lesson you learned that you still carry with you today from the Moonshot Fellowship?
And I'm trying to think. I don't know. I think that like Moonshot helped me solidify it, is that there are many types of leaders and that there isn't one right way to lead. And so in the Moonshot Fellowship, we were fortunate to have executive coaches. And I'd had those before in the past as a leader in a school, but they were mostly focused on like implementing things in the school. And this executive coach really helped me unpack that I had a vision of what I thought a leader was. And I thought it wasn't me. And I thought I needed to be those things in order to be a leader. And what she helped me realize was that what I already was doing was leadership. It was just in a different way. You don't always have to be a loud person out in front, making decisions, telling people what to do, actually bringing people together, that inclusiveness, the talking to people who might not feel that sense of belonging, like that is a part of leadership. Asking people what they think before just making decisions, that is actually a great part of leadership. And I think the Moonshot Fellowship helped me realize that what I was seeing in the world wasn't the only way of doing things to be successful.
Yeah. So basically just finding out that you are a leader yourself in your own way, in your own unique way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And can you think of where you were when you did the Moonshot Fellowship, where you were personally and professionally? What does your moonshot experience mean to you?
Personally and professionally, when I began the fellowship, I actually have always been a learner. I love to learn. I like learning new things. And I'd wanted to be a principal at a school and saw Moonshot as like, oh, this might be a cool thing to do to, some professional development for myself as I am on a journey to become a principal. And I think what I realized was that it was so much more than it wasn't just a learning place. It was a place of home. It was a place of belonging. It was a place that helped me change and shape my thinking moving forward. And so I think I started the program thinking, oh, wouldn't it be nice to learn something to take back to my school? And I left the program thinking, I can start my own school. I can change the world. I don't need to go be the principal of a school and follow other people's rules. I can create the rules, and I can work with my community to do that.
Yeah, so it made you very open-minded, basically.
Yes, I would say empowered even. Like that, yes, I can do this.
And going back to like the leadership thing where you felt like, yeah, I don't really know how to say this, but it's like you realize you could be your own like a leader in your own way.
Yes. Yeah. I will say, interesting, I think Moonshot did for me what we want to do for young people. I think it like helped me with my identity and gave me the community and confidence to go my changes in education and through starting a school. And so I think that like Moonshot did for me what Be the Change wants to do for others.
So it was like an inspiration.
Yes.
Yeah. And describe how the Moonshot community has impacted you.
I was like, we actually on Saturday, we have a brunch with people from my cohort. Like we still get together and talk about what's going on and help problem solve. I know that I can call up anybody from the Moonshot team when I need help with solving a problem. It has just been such a great opportunity to have that community that like it's so giving, and that you feel like you can just be authentically you and just show up, and you feel that sense of belonging. You feel like, I sometimes talk about like, I feel like I can just like sigh of relief when I get to be in spaces with Moonshot, because the community is just amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah, somewhere you want to be at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And do you think you would call this community not your friends, but more family like?
Absolutely. Yes. Like these are, like I said, we're like going to have and it's like our girls group. We're going to go have our dinner on Saturday. And yeah, it's just like getting together with your cousins and talking things out.
Well, good for you. I hope you have fun
Thank
during
you.
lunch this Saturday. And my other question is, education is hard work. What keeps you going?
Great question. One, I think it's super challenging, and I love problem solving, and I like figuring things out. I also think that I have another learning, and I don't know if it was in Moonshot or where it happened along the way though. It was that like failure is such an important part of learning. And I think in education, so much failure can happen as leaders and school founders, and you're trying to do right by like students and families. But there's so many opportunities to learn, because every time you fail, it's an opportunity to learn. And I love that. And I have to say, honestly, like I'm sure all educators say it, but it's the kids. And it's been really hard for me for the past 2 years not being in a school with students. But young people they just have so much energy and so much life. And to get to see the future through their eyes is the thing that I think keeps me going through this.
Yeah, it's your main motive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to see how much the future can change through them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and how much it's changing right now.
Totally. Yes. Like our young people are amazing. And it's just great to see how are they thinking about things, how they're going about solving problems, what they want to do, and how life is just so different, like getting to see life so different than when I was growing up. It's amazing what young people can do.
Yeah, to see it from a different perspective
Mm-hmm.
now. Yeah, definitely. And describe your work or your venture in a few sentences.
Be the Change Community School is a charter high school opening up in Commerce City. We're going to start with 9th and 10th grade in the fall of 2024. We're project-based. We're focused on biliteracy in English and Spanish. And we're a place that we want everybody to feel that sense of belonging and deeply know who they are.
To have that welcoming feeling.
Yes.
And the community.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And what is the best part of your day in your job or your venture?
Best part of my days are when I get to be with students and families. So when we do like recruitment sessions, or we have community activities or design sessions, that's my favorite part. I love people, and I love hearing what other people think is important and necessary within education. I'm not the decision maker in our organization. Like our community is the one that tells us what needs to happen. And so it's always great getting to be around amazing people and just hearing and connecting with them.
Yeah, so from what I'm hearing, you're a very supportive and a very communicative person, right? Yeah, just being out there with people, right?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I wish I could be like that, but I can't get out of my comfort zone.
It's interesting you say that, because I'm a shy maybe person by nature, or introverted by nature. But when you're I don't know how to explain it, but when you feel like you're in community, something changes in me. When you feel like you are with people who could be your family, it's different.
Yeah, with people you feel comfortable around. Definitely. Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you, Amanda, for joining us today. It was a pleasure to have you on the show with us today.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And thank you all for tuning in. But before we leave, Amanda, please finish the sentence for me. Moonshot is...
family.
Moonshot is family. Beautifully said. Thank you for sharing, Amanda. Stay tuned for the next episode, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Voice of Montbello Podcast.
You can find our episodes anywhere you listen to podcasts.
You can support our work by checking out our Instagram at Confluence Media Center.
Click the link tree in the bio to connect with us.
Be sure to rate, reviews, and follow us. Make sure you put them good. And make a donation.
This has been a Confluence Media production.